So we're going to talk about why we hate the True Alpha plotline, because we're very angry and we're not good at writing things. And we are wearing wolf and moon shirts. Because
to solidify the point.
Because we're ridiculous.
Like the True Alpha plotline.
Okay, so basically, we hate the True Alpha plotline because it's terrible, and we are going to talk about why it's terrible in honor of Teen Wolf returning to television in a few days. So, firstly, I think we should talk about Scott McCall. I never really liked his character, to be honest.
I think his character was fun, like in the first season, and like he was like irritating, but in kind of an endearing way.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like gradually got worse.
I feel that there are two very different Scotts in Teen Wolf. There's season 1 and 2 Scott, and there's season 3 Scott. And season 1 and 2 Scott messed up a lot, like all the time, and his character was solely just like Allison, straight-minded, like I will do anything for Allison, which was kind of irritating as a viewer, but
it was also semi-realistic in that
and
like,
it was consistent in his character, so fine. And then we get to season 3 and we see that over the summer he has decided, he's like, I've decided to be a better son and friend and person. I'm no longer obsessed with Allison. And then I guess we found out that his anchor is no longer Allison, but like,
what does it know?
But you don't see any of that happen as the viewer because it happened between seasons 2 and 3. So that character development really doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't make sense. So anyways, Scott is this different person. He's better and great. And so now he's a true alpha because he is the best person ever. Yay. Which is completely disregarding everything that happened in season 1 and 2 where he like screws up as much as any other character, which is like a good thing because you want to see flawed heroes. But like season 1, he refuses to help Derek at all, regardless of the fact that the alpha is killing people. He only agrees to help on the stipulation that he gets to kill the alpha. So I don't really see that as like a shining beacon of valor.
Yeah.
Such a
for someone who's supposed to be like morally black and white, and then he's like, you know what?
I'm not gonna help
like to kill a man
but
today.
I will help you on the condition that I can kill a man. I don't understand where they're coming from that his character is so much better than Derek and all of the other werewolves, because you don't see that really as a viewer until season 3, and then it seems like really contrived, I guess.
Well, because the foundation of this belief that he's a great character is because he's someone who always wants to save people, and we see him say things like, I want to save people, but then he never, I mean, a few times he does, but most of the time he's wanting to kill people, or he's doing equal amounts of saving as, like, even, like, Styles. So there's no, like, foundation for the belief that he is, like, a superior character.
True Alpha would, I guess you would think, mean, like, ideal, perfect werewolf. But since Episode 1, Season 1, Scott has rejected the werewolf. He wants to be human.
Yeah.
He is willing to kill to be human. Something that you see he's not willing to kill for any other reason, but he is willing to kill to be human. And so it's like he
can be with Allison.
But he wants to be normal. He
Yeah.
wants to like have this life. He completely rejects Eric. He pushes everything away because he doesn't want to be a werewolf. I think that is a lot of it, the reason that he doesn't help Derek, because he rejects everything to do with being a werewolf. So I think that it doesn't make sense that he would be a true alpha, because he hates being a werewolf. He's so attached to the humanity, but he doesn't have any of like the good parts of being a werewolf, which, you know, could be a myriad of things, but we're not able to see that because Scott, our hero, hates being a werewolf and rejects it completely. It's like Scott never has to face the consequences of any of his actions, ever. He doesn't have to apologize for using Derek against Gerard. He doesn't have to apologize to anyone for not telling Allison what happened with her mom's death, resulting in Allison hurting a lot of people and sort of kind of leading up to Boyd and Erica's disappearance, I want to say. And no one ever confronts him that, like, that was the wrong thing to do. Scott, X, Y, and Z was wrong, and thus his character never really learns. He never gets the chance to learn from his mistakes. So I feel like you're setting him up to be the perfect hero, but sorry.
Okay, well, for me, it's less about, like, Scott not having consequences than Scott, like, in comparison to the rest of the characters on the show, because I think that kind of bleeds into the problems that a lot of people have with the show, which is, like, look at what happens to Boyd and to Erica and to Derek, and even Stiles now, and then look at what happens to Scott.
I feel like the final issue that I have with the True Alpha happened in the very last episode, where Jennifer has that Mountain Ash ring and Scott breaks through it. I can't even tell you how angry I got when I saw that. Because it's like, okay, I can accept the fact that you're going to make him into this, like, beacon of werewolf goodness, even though it's like, if werewolves were all inherently evil and killing for power and whatnot, wouldn't it, like, make sense that they would have died out ages ago? Because I don't feel like it doesn't really make sense in the folklore sense that true alphas never happen. There's never anyone good enough to be a true alpha, when it seems like if it was all based on violence and power, like, it would have collapsed very quickly. So anyway, back to the Mountain Ash. So Jennifer's, like, throwing up the Mountain Ash. There's a Mountain Ash ring. Scott's breaking through the Mountain Ash, and then he breaks through the Mountain Ash and defies the laws of magic and becomes, as others have referred to it, the werewolf Jesus. Oh my gosh. I hate this, because something in supernatural shows that you have to do as a writer is stick to the laws of your world. Mm-hmm. As soon as you stop sticking to those laws, you've basically created an environment where anything can happen. Plot holes are all over the place. Like, there has to be some sort of rule in order to, like, say, not get to the point where someone dies and it's like, okay, we can just magic them back to life. Although that has happened in Teen Wolf.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's going to get to the point in 3B where it's like, what can you not do as a true alpha? I don't think it's going to be outlined, because beforehand it was just like, oh, a true alpha means that you're just
a great person.
A great werewolf, good job, Scott. But then it's like, oh, you can also break through Mountain Ash. Oh, you can also, like, Wolfsbane no longer affects you or something. It's going to end up going bigger and bigger. So then we're going to come to, like, points in the story where the characters...
Like, even if it's not, it's going to be like, why? Why isn't it going it bigger?
Yeah.
If he can do Mountain Ash, why can't he
do exactly.
Why
the characters are going to be in a situation, and it's like, wait, couldn't the true alpha just get them out of that? Wait, no. And it just creates, like, a series of plot holes that could have just never happened if that moment had just not been there.
I think that was really the defining moment where I was like, no, this is terrible. No. Especially in a show that deals with the supernatural, you need to have the character, definitely, you know, have physical limitations, but also have emotional limitations, which, like I said, was initially Allison. But now it's like, no, he's just perfect. He forgot about Allison. He's a better everything.
Well, and it takes away that relatability that Davis, like, was in love with initially when he was talking about Scott, like, in the first 2 seasons, when he was like, well, Scott's just so relatable, and he's like every teenager. And it kind of, once you make him invincible like that, and you see that and plus, it's no longer really told from his perspective. That's a whole other issue. But on top of that, you can't really see what his problems are emotionally, and so it just makes him, like, kind of, like, just so unattainable in a way.
I feel like
so you can no longer have that connection with his character.
He is like the beacon of Beacon Hills. And everyone always talks about how loving and caring and generous Scott is, but the problem is, you kind of see that in season 3. But before that, it seems like twisted humanism where you're not willing to sacrifice one life for the good of many, which is an interesting moral dilemma to have in shows, but after a while it gets irritating. So you've lost all sense of relatability with a character, and you've given us this perfect, wonderful character that never messes up, and I don't know where you're going to go from there to make it interesting. And that is why we hate the True Alpha plotline. Happy New Year!